Okay. Just to start off with, I would like to, we're part of Stay Smart Online, which is an initiative by the government to make sure all the businesses are aware of all the cybersecurity issues. So if you're not subscribed to any of these, make sure you do. There's a lot of good information out there which helps you stay smart and more aware of what's actually happening out there in the cyber world. These are some of the partners that we deal with. And as being a partner, we get trainings from them. We need to make sure we certify and qualify as well. So some of the big vendors that people can't, businesses can't go directly to them, so they come through us to, so we provide the support, we get the hardware, we get the software, and we install it, configure it for them. And backup, as Jose just mentioned in his speech, backup is one of the things that I see a lot of customers fail. Either they don't have a proper backup or their backup isn't sufficiently covered. It always, every time I go in there and I tell this, and not every business takes this seriously. And when does things like what happened to Jose's client last night, there's nothing I can really do. It has to go to data recovery, and chances are 90% of the time they can, but there's 10% chance that they might not be able to get that data back. So backup is an important, and the best way to have your backup is have at least 3 different copies of your backup, and in 2 different formats. One could be on the cloud, one could be on your USB, but at least one should be offsite. So never have your backups along with your device at the same premises. And as I just mentioned, the backups is one of the things that I always see that's not done. And then email services. A lot of people rely on email services but do not back up their emails. That's another aspect that people do. And admin passwords, just having default admin passwords. Most times I go into businesses, when I ask them for login details for their modem or switch, they don't know. I try the default one, I get in. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. And the same with antivirus. A lot of people rely on free antivirus. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work. You need to have proper antivirus. Antivirus, having a proper antivirus and a backup is an essential for any type of business, whether you're a one-man business or multi-billion-dollar business. And some of the things is the notifiable data breach. So healthcare, financial, you're bound by this. Doesn't matter how much you make, you're still bound by this. So you have to notify any small breach to the government and to your clients. And if you deal with international European unions, then you're bound by the GDPR as well. And always be careful when you download free softwares. That's where most of the malware comes from. And email services is another area that I see a lot of businesses actually fail. They do not know. How many of you actually have this email address called abuse at your domain or postmaster at your domain? Does anyone know that you need to have that? No. So if someone does abuse your domain, start sending out spam, and these spam filters and the organizations that look after this, that's the email address that will contact you to tell you no, that your domain's been hacked, or so that's the email address you need to have. It needs to go to someone. So if you have an IT person has to manage those for you. You need keeping track of those. But unfortunately, I see that is not set up in a lot of domains. And if you have a website as well, the webmaster email address is another thing. You need to have the webmaster at your domain email address. It could go to your website maintenance people, or it could go to yourself, but it needs to be there. And email spoofing. How many of you know about email spoofing? Greg knows, he had an experience. This is when they send out emails pretending to be from your domain. It's nothing to do with you. It doesn't matter what you do. There's no way you can stop people from sending domains pretending to be from you. But there are some things that you can do. Things like adding those records. So if you add those records in, what that happens is it goes to the other end. Their spam filter checks, is this email actually coming from your domain? So that's where all these, they all take terms, but in short, they're all useful for making sure that email is actually coming from where you say it's coming from, and it's actually authenticated digitally. And DMARC record is to say, okay, what's the policy? If it's not coming from you, what do you want to do with this email? Do you want to just block it? Do you want to reject it? Do you want to bounce it back? So that's what those ones are used. And unfortunately, a lot of domains do not have this as well. They do not set this up. So a couple of weeks ago, I requested people, if you wanted to have those email checks, that's one of the things that I do check. Make sure you are complying with all these. This is just a bit more about what those records mean. But pretty much the first two are the very important ones. SPF record, for instance, it tells you if you, for instance, you're sending emails from Office 365, it tells you, okay, Office 365 is your domain that's allowed to send emails on your behalf. But if you have a marketing, then you need to make sure if you're sending marketing emails, your marketing email servers details are actually added to that SPF record so they don't get bounced back or put into spam. And a lot of times I get asked, oh, why is my marketing email never going to the inboxes? It ends up in their spam. Because most likely they just haven't added their records in the SPF. And the DKIM is more like a validation, like digital authentication. So if you don't have that, you need to have a record for every place that you send from. So if you've got multiple marketing platforms, you need to have a record for each of them. DMARC is more like a policy where it says what to do if you do find you've been spoofed. And in just a quick overview of how we can be a bit more cyber aware. As I said, Stay Smart Online from the government, that's a really good initiative. So follow on their Facebook page, any outbreaks, anything, they actually put it on there. So that's a good initiative. And also make sure you have a longer and complex passwords and do not have the same password in all your systems. Have separate ones. Something like LastPass is more, there's a free version as well. You can make use of that. It stores all your information. You just have to remember one master password. And it's like a password vault. You can store your passwords in there. And antivirus, make sure it's up to date. Spam filters. Spam filters does a good job. So if you're getting a lot of spams, especially with links in them, most spam filters would actually block them. And if you have a good antivirus, even if you do click the link, your antivirus will stop you from going to those websites and downloading malware. And always train your staff as well, not just you knowing about it, your staff needs to know. A lot of times, and people have been hacked or malware has been infected, ransomware, it's purely come through one staff member clicking on a link on an email which is spreading to their whole network. Yeah, just a bit more. In terms of the phone systems, we do not do small phone systems. We only do specialized mid-sized companies which do PAB access, call centers, call recording, those kind of phone systems. And email, managed services, they're the most of the work that I do. Yeah, that's just a bit of customer base. And yeah, that's my ideal referral. So any businesses over 5 users, factories, IT managers. I do a lot of work with IT managers. So if you do know of any IT managers, I could always work with any IT managers. It's more casual, ongoing work as well. And that's about it. Thank you. Okay.